Hello, everyone, and welcome back to week 5, I believe, of Johnny's Scrims. And I believe this is our last week before the finals. So, we've already seen one game this week, and we have two more interesting ones coming up. Today, though, should be a very, very close game. Yoinkers and Crimson. Both teams, I believe, haven't lost yet. Oh, no, Yoinkers did. They lost to Jamul. That was a pretty close game, as memory serves. And I believe today could be even closer again. Today with me, I have Psychopomp as my
Hello.
color caster. I, of course, am Maran, and yeah, as I said, Yoinkers versus Crimson, and we're going to Nepal first. Sorry for the delays as well getting started. We're just waiting for some players to get into the lobby. Okay. Oh,
Traveling to Nepal.
there we go.
Initiating match.
Nepal, another interesting map, Psycho. Definitely very versatile. But we're heading to Village first. Do you know what kind of comps you expect to be seeing here?
I mean, if memory serves correctly, Yoinkers like playing Brawl, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to utilize it on this one. I'm probably expecting a May coming out at the very minimum,
Hmm.
at least on one of the
Ready
teams.
for battle.
Looks like you're
Actually, no,
wrong. And
wrong.
interestingly
Okay.
enough, Yoinkers here running that Ryan Zarya brawl, but Ludigo Yoda, who is our resident Ryan one trick, switching over onto the Winston for this brawl, looking for more of a double bubble kind of a rush comp rather than the straight up brawl of Yoinkers side. Of course, running
What I'm
that
quite
Ryan
curious about
Zarya.
is what's going to be the better DPS here, because you've got two very similar DPS in the
One.
Farah and the
Round
Echo,
one.
but what's going to be the better
Capture
one?
the objective.
We'll see now Farah providing a little bit more spam. Hopefully in these tight chokes, we'll get a little bit more ult charge and more value for Yoinkers, or at least that's what they're hoping for, I'd assume. As looks at exactly what's happening so far. Halisav and Zadik already falling to half HP to that spam, but both able to get healed up very, very quickly. Apart from Halisav, who's getting taken out by two lovely direct rockets from Corrupted, who's now just spamming in, finds Zadik as well as more Haze Diva, finds a 2k in the front lines, both the Break and the Winston. Um, or on the I can't remember who else did fall to him as well. As King Raptor finds that Ana. A very, very
Well, I
quick and
guess
a clean fight for Corrupted.
my answer was
There.
my question was definitely answered there in the side of corrupted.
Yeah.
Farah is definitely doing better so far. This is only the first team fight, so
Yeah, Zadig definitely has the time to bring things back in his favor, and he is actually much higher ult charge than Corrupted at 60% over Corrupted's 50. As we do see now Crimson rotating around the left side of point onto, or the cliff side of point, and trying to cap the point here, take it from the Yonkers side. GDB just barely managing to get onto point to stall it out for a little bit longer. Zadik goes on the flank, finds Johnny Scrims, which is a huge kill. Corrupted does also take out the main support on the opposite side, Sheg falling as well as Ludigo Yoda. But Halisov popping off, finds two, looking for a third. He finds it. Haze Diva falling as well. Halisov finding three for himself that fight as the res comes through from Oliball onto Ludigo Yoda, meaning it's just Corrupted and Brigida alive as Corrupted now gets taken out as well. Halisov finding four.
almost finding a fifth one at the end there. Yeah, I mean it was it was kind of hard to track for me to be honest, but no, it was very good work at least for the cleanup there from Holysov, and the tanks diving in making the Baptiste window kind of useless where it was put down.
Early high noon there just to break those Rhine shields and to force Yonkers to retreat back out the caves. And they're pushing back down through main, but I saw out of the corner of my eye, Corrupted flanking around behind. He has the barrage and he has that mercy pocket as well. He's probably looking to find someone here. Looking for Ludigo first, but switching targets actually, wanting to find that copied Rhine, who actually managed to find GDB with a pin before falling. Corrupted though does find Ludigo Yoda as well on the point, and now it's just an absolute brawl. Brigida does find the resurrect onto GDB, but Corrupted falls in the process as the nano boost does come through onto Halisov, who wants to try to find another cleanup for himself. Looking for Brigida on the Mercy, but can't quite find the kill as he's now getting pressured really heavily by GDB as the Graviton Surge comes out from Haze Diva as well on the left hand side. Unfortunately not being able to get cleaned up as Ludigo Yoda now popping the Primal to contest point for that little bit longer, but unfortunately it's contesting in the wrong team's favour as Yoinkers actually own the point right now. As GDB now with a huge slam, hitting 3, looking to finish 2 of them off before getting slept. Does just that as King Raptor finds Ludogoyota as well. The Resurrect is there for Corrupted once again, as GDB cleans up Sheg as well beside the point. And that is once again the point turning for, or the fight win for Yoinkers.
Yeah, I mean, it was very good. It seemed like their ult usage there was very calculated as well. You know, the graph came out just to keep the Winston off just for a little bit longer, allowing them to cap the point. And then by that point, the Winston ult was a bit useless, coming onto the point in a 1v3 and not being able to kill anything.
Once again, we see another rotation down through main from Crimson, which is how they capped the point the first time, getting 70% for themselves. We will see now if Yoinkers are able to counter it. Looks like they won't be able to, as Holisov finds that pharmacy with a high noon early on. Exotic follows up, finding King Raptor. There's no DPS for Yoinkers now, as Haze Diva doing his best with that 100 energy to try to take out Zodic on that Echo, but the Mercy Pocket is just too strong, as Haze now forced to retreat, does get taken out eventually by Toastman. So once again, a very clean rotation and clean fight for Crimson.
Yeah, it just seems like Yoinkers are a bit delayed on the reaction time when points are getting taken. You know, you can get let away like half or even 3/4, but you need to get there as a team, and when everyone's kind of split up like that, it's hard to regroup and then fight on point.
Zodic now as well has the copy ult available as the high noon comes out from King Raptor. Unfortunately, can't quite find anyone as Zodic does pick off Johnny Scrims with that Farah copy, as the Nano boost as well onto Ludogoyota provides a lot of extra damage. As Johnny Scrims does get res, but GDB falling as well. And it's just Haze Diva stalling on point, forcing that overtime. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to do much, even with that Graviton Surge. There's no DPS follow-up. And Toastman and Sheg taking up Brigida and Johnny Scrims before they can even touch the point. And that is Nepal Village going to Crimson.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely good fights in there, and I'm quite excited to see the rest of the series. I think it's going to be quite a close series from what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
It's not been a complete stomp so far. What was that, 100 to maybe 70 or 80?
75,
so,
I believe.
So it's going to be quite a close fight, and I mean the DPS from Crimson, like Holisov's just putting in absolute work, at least for that point. You can see that there he had Mercy Pocket, or well, I mean when Zodic went down, he had a Mercy Pocket, and he also got the Nano as well. It's just a ridiculous amount of damage if you think about it.
Looks like Crimson here once again deciding to run this double bubble comp, which is generally what we see Yoinkers running, and the exact opposite is the case for Yoinkers running the Brawl comp, which we often see Crimson running. So both teams seem to flip with each other as a wide rotation comes through from Crimson, and Ludogoyota as well jumping behind enemy lines, probably looking for a dive target here, and might be able to find it onto that anti-Johnny Scrims, who is being dove already by that Echo, and Holisov finding the final blow. But definitely a lot of damage contributed by all three members there, as Holisov finds another kill onto GDB as Zodic takes out Haze Diva as well. That's a really easy clean fight for the side of Crimson, only losing Holisov, but the Resurrect is there from Oliball.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, whoever's on shot calling for Crimson's, he's definitely come today with his A game. That was a perfect dive. You know, you had the anti-Johnny Scrims, you had Zodic kind of taking him down, just trying to hack away at him or poke him, and then everyone dives at him when he can't get any healing. At that point, the fight's practically won, losing a healer.
And Zodic now already having the copy available, but it looks like he won't need to use it, because once again, Zodic taking out a healer at the very start of this fight. He is hacked, however, but playing smart falls out and avoids taking any further damage as he gets healed up. And another very, very quick fight for Crimson. Now we see the copy coming through. Zodic, of course, taking that Reinhardt, going for an early pin, is very quickly destroyed though, as he loses that copy form without getting any kills. But now the Nano Primal coming in, Ludogoyota is swinging around, does find Brigida, as the Immortality Field is not there to keep them up, as GDB also falls to that Winston, as well as Johnny Scrims. That High Noon from Holisov, unfortunately not finding any actual kills, but definitely forcing Yoinkers to play a lot more passive, as that Winston was able to just roll through their front line.
Yeah. What I'm worried about here is you see the DPS on the side of Yoinkers swap quite often here, which does mean that they're not getting any ult, any ult off for their team. And you know, I mean, the male is definitely fight winning, and I can't even remember what Raptor was playing beforehand. I think he was playing McCree, so you know, I saw a lot of damage gone as well.
Zodic there, completely unnoticed by the Yoinkers team, who pushed in right below him, despite the blue beam from Ollie ball onto him just before the fight broke out, and then a huge anti as well from Sheg enables ASMR HZiva to get demeched as the Graviton Surge comes out from Toastman as well. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough as GDB and Corrupted combined get 3 kills for their team thanks to that amplification matrix from Johnny Scrims. And now it's just cleanup time as GDB does take out Sheg as well as Raptor and Brigida taking out Hollysoft and Toastman. And finally, Yoinkers get their first percentage on the board for this point.
Yeah, and they're slowly building up ults as well. You've got, this fight, you'll have your Reaper, you have Sombra, you'll have D.Va, and you already have your Reinhardt. So the only things that were invested there were support ults. And then the Grav's gone because that's what they had to use the Lucio ult for. So they should be feeling pretty comfortable for the next couple fights anyway.
Well, you'd say that, but Toastman finding a very early pick onto Brigida thanks to a lot of spam damage coming through from that Echo. As now the copy comes through as well, Zodic taking that Sombra, but King Raptor finds 2, finds 3 now in the backlines of that Crimson side. Both supports as well as a DPS falling, but Ludigo Yoda doesn't want to go down without a fight. He wants to win this as the EMP and the Prime will come in on point. But unfortunately, only GDB falling to that as King Raptor finds a 4th for himself, taking out Toastman. Brigida now does fall as well, but it's only Holysov coming in with Oliball to recontest here. The Resurrect is going to be there for Zodic though, as Crimson continue the pressure on the point. But Johnny Scrims is coming back as well as GDB. But Zodic is doing enough here. Does find King Raptor. Holysov as well, finding Johnny Scrims very, very early on here. As now it's just GDB and Brigida stalling on point for as long as possible here. As a high noon comes out from Holysov, just to pressure that Reinhardt to stay away for a little while longer as the Crimson side cap the point and the overtime is forced, but I don't think anyone from the Yoinkers side is going to be able to touch. GDB goes for it with a charge, but can't quite make it. It's Corrupted uncloaks on point as King Raptor as well gets there, finds 2 with a massive Death Blossom. The Immortality Field there as well, keeps him alive for that little bit longer, as well as that Amplification Matrix from Johnny Scrims, providing a little bit of extra healing and extra damage, killing Ludigo Yoda, as now Haze Diva is touching the point, finds a kill onto Zodic as well. The Resurrect comes through onto Holysov from Oliball, as now Brigida gets onto the point as well as GDB on that Wrecking Ball. Looking for more kills, but unfortunately can't quite find that. Slammed, not doing quite enough damage. As the Valkyrie is coming out from Oliball, keeping the entire side of Crimson alive as now the Graviton Surge comes out. Toastman though falling very, very shortly after, but GDB as well gets taken out by a headshot from Holysov as now the bomb coming out from Haze Diva does find Sheg as Ludigoda is hacked and is going to be taken out as well. Haze Diva forced to retreat as the copy from Zodic as well as the High Noon comes out from Holysov, finding Johnny Scrims as now Zodic is getting demeched, but it's Echo ult, he can get his ultimate really quickly again, and here comes the bomb. Cannot find anybody. It looks like it can't quite as the cover is there on the point. And the point actually does turn back to Yoinkers. Finding Zodic as well as GDB, who now pressures onto Holysov. Finds that kill as well, but the Resurrect is there instantly. Holysov back in the fight as now King Raptor on the Tracer is pressuring the backlines. Forced out though and forced to recall as well as Corrupted forced to translocate away as GDB pushed into the front lines. Gets a big slam and here comes the follow-up with the Pulse Bomb, but King Raptor, while he does find Sheg, also finds himself thanks to a nice jump from Ludigo Yoda, as well as the Primal to keep himself alive after the Pulse Bomb exploded. Now it's just Toastman burning people down on point, Ludigo Yoda as well, finding Johnny Scrims on the cliffside, as now it's just Brigida stalling on point, trying to use those mines as cover for herself, as well as that beat, keeping themselves alive, as it's 99 to 99, it's an absolute brawl on point. This has been absolutely non-stop. King Raptor does find Ludigo Yoda, but the stall is still here, the Resurrect is still here, as the Valkyrie is going, keeping this Crimson side alive. But somehow Yoinkers are able to stall out this overtime even longer in their favor. They haven't lost a point yet. GDB getting onto point, but getting grabbed instantly. The healing is there, but not quite for long enough, as Johnny Scrims is getting taken out as well, touching the point. Corrupted not quite able to touch either, and Crimson just barely be able to pull that one out. And that was one hell of a fight.
Yeah, I mean, it almost felt like the fight never ended. It was such a back and forth fight from almost when Yoinkers got the point back till they got overtime. It just felt like the same fight went on and on and on and on and on.
I mean, that's what it certainly felt like from my voice anyways. We do see Holysov here with the play of the game, finding quite a few kills for himself, and definitely an MVP of that map, of course. Pretty much solo carrying all of Village, and then doing very, very well for himself, of course, on that second point Shrine as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was Crimson's pick as well there, so I'm curious to see what Yoinkers is going to pick here. Because genuinely, it feels like although these games are going to be close, it feels like whoever picks them up is going to be the one that's going to come out on top of the map.
Definitely might be the case. Because as we saw, yeah, both sides very, very closely matched there. And I think probably the deciding factor in all that, despite Hollysoft popping off it, I don't think it was Hollysoft. I think it was actually Sheg with those big anti-nades, especially onto key members of Yoinkers like Johnny Scrims, who was taken out first in practically every single winning team fight for Crimson. Thanks to those anti-nades and then a nice coordinated dive from the likes of Zodic and Ludio Yoda, just being able to punish um, even the slightest bit of mispositioning or just a well-placed anti-nade from Sheg. So
Yeah,
definitely from a very, very nice play there from Crimson.
absolutely. I mean, there was very good plays from both sides, but I mean, it just feels like everyone's showing up today so far for Crimson, where it feels like a lot of Yoinkers are getting caught out with either miscommunication on when to go in or just like mispositioning.
I mean,
Seems like a lot of these anti-nades are getting in for free. It almost looks like.
there were a few stray anti-nades and stray picks as well coming either from, we saw a few from that Zarya with those right clicks onto Brigida, as well as of course Zodic getting quite a few early picks just due to those sticky mines doing so much damage to that Yoinkers side. And unfortunately, maybe the defense matrix timing wasn't quite there, or maybe just the healing was overestimated, um, or maybe it was just well played by Crimson, able to punish any misplays from Yoinkers. Um, well, we're not quite sure, but we are heading now over onto Havana, which I believe is Yoinkers' pick, as they do come onto this brawl comp out the gate. But they'll be
I'm,
brawling,
I'm I'm gonna guess that they're way to try and spawn camp here.
I would assume the same, but they're going to be looking into the face of a Roadhog to try and spawn camp, which isn't always the easiest hero to do that against, because Roadhog has just such high pick potential, especially at that
Yeah.
close range.
Oh, you see, Lydia is going on to the Orisa now.
Well, Orisa definitely, again, not is another tank that's just not easy to kill, especially with the recent buffs making
Yeah.
Orisa impossible to headshot when fortified. But both sides now pushing it very aggressively. Ludigoda already walled off and antied and taken out by Haze Diva. Of course, that new Orisa buff doesn't actually affect Zarya at all whatsoever, as she can't get headshots anyway. As now the Bastion comes out from Zodic to just try and pressure down that shield of GDBs, but corrupted with the those right clicks from Mei, able to get Zodic down. But that was a huge anti-hit out of Sheg, able to find 5 members of Yoinkers there, but unfortunately there's no follow-up as Zodic switches over onto the Genji as well. Very split play coming out from the Crimson side here as Ludigo decides to take the right-hand door from his perspective out of spawn and is instantly pressured by Yoinkers. Unfortunately can't quite find the kill, but definitely caused him to rotate back to his team as now GDB just able to swing for free in that doorway, especially with those Zarya bubbles. Just swing to build up that ult charge. He's already close enough to that shatter as the Nanobus is coming out as well. Unfortunately, not able to get any use out of it as Crimson just back up into spawn. Once again, it looks like a very split push from the side of Crimson here, with 4 members going one side and 2 going the opposite side, and finally the rotation is coming through, but Oliball pushing out very, very far forward in front of his team. The Maywall as well is there to stop from that Matrix from getting any real value, but the shatter is huge from GDB, as well as Johnny Scrims with that anti-net to clean up those kills, and it's only Toastman able to get out of there alive, and that's only because he was so close to the spawn when he got hit by that shatter. So definitely huge play from GDB there.
I just realized my mic was muted.
Oh, rip.
Oh no. We move on from that.
That
Then.
Maywall there a little bit early from Corrupted. Unfortunately, can't quite zone off that. Orisa is now the High Noon there to counter that Gravitic Flux from Toastman. Unfortunately, can't find a kill. Instead, Zodic getting the deflect kill onto King Raptor, as that Gravitic Flux also killed Johnny Scrims. So now it's just Lucio heals for this defending side, and Zodic with the Nanoblade actually cancels the beat drop from Brigida and gets a 4k for himself, and that's finally Crimson able to push out a spawn. A minute or 2 minutes basically left on the clock.
But you can't be angry if you're Yoinkers, though. You want to shave up off as much time in the spawn as possible. So taking off almost 3 minutes is really, really good for the comp that they're running.
Halisav now though on the way, looking for some early picks and stopping any type of stall like that from happening again. Unfortunately, not going to be able to find it just yet. He's getting very heavily pressured. Some nice speed boost and coordination from Yoinkers' side, as well as that Graviton Surge, able to find Zodic, who gets no heals thanks to that Maywall as well, splitting the team in half. He's Diva now, as well as King Raptor, just pushing forward, holding their W keys, as well as Mouse 1 and for both of them here, and getting all those kills. And Johnny Scrims as well with another anti does find Ollie as GTB just decides to go full aggressive charges and finds Sheg, just coming out of spawn basically. As King Raptor finds another fadeaway kill onto Ludigo Yoda on that Orisa. But now GTB holding a very aggressive angle, does get caught out by Zodic and Hollysav, but unfortunately not able to get taken out as he's able to regroup with his team and fall out. These fights are just mixing
together. For a
together.
second there, I thought that Yoinkers was the way to go and start spawn camping again. Which it wouldn't be the worst idea considering they did catch them on the reset, but looks like they want to start playing this corner now in case there might be a back cap or anything like that.
Another big slam out of GDB enables his team to just press W and roll over that team fight as well, as Corrupted using that Maywall to kind of disable that Bongo from Ludigo Yoda from doing any real value, as none of the team members were really close enough to find any effective value from it because they were all too busy running away from the Blizzard. As now Ludigo Yoda switches over onto that Reinhardt, as a very, very quick retreat comes through and reposition comes through from this Yoinkers side, who are all on the high ground now, just waiting to drop onto the low ground with this nano-boosted Reinhardt in GDB, just swinging on payload, finds the Immortality Field, and now is looking for the other Reinhardt. Unfortunately, going to be able to just barely find it as the beat comes through to counter that Gravitic Flux coming out from Toastman. And now the Blade coming out once again from Zodic, wants to find another 4K, I'd say. Looks like he won't be able to quite find him, but might find that Lucio. Yes, he does, as Halisav finds Haze Diva as well. As another shadow comes out from GDB, but unfortunately the follow-up is not there this time, as Halisav as well with a high noon finds Johnny Scrims, and now Zodic is just pressuring that May and Soldier respawn, and it looks like Crimson might be able to take this first point.
Yeah, I mean, it was very good. I mean, very good coordination from Yoinkers there. You know, they're changing it up. They're keeping Crimson on their feet with the high ground push.
Oh, a huge grab actually coming out from Haze Diva after that May and Ball were able to touch the point, as well as Zodic falling to GDB. But now the kills are coming through from both sides, but especially on this Crimson side, they find 4. Sheg and Halisav finding all those kills. There's a 5th, and that's just Johnny Scrims. Hopefully he'll be able to escape with his life, but he might not be able to get all the way out. Has to nade himself, as looks like he will be able to escape.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't want your main support to be staggered there, so it was really good that he was managed to escape there. And we see GDB swim back onto the Reinhardt, so they go back to the Sprawl for the second point again.
Definitely a worthy effort from Yoinkers to try and stall out that point for a little bit longer. Unfortunately, the damage wasn't there to finish that Immortality Field, but Ludigo Yoda gets his shatter blocked by GDB, just shielding on that high ground as Corrupted finds and pick onto Halisav. Unfortunately, didn't get that beat drop. As now the Nanoboost comes through onto GDB on the payload, who's just swinging onto Ludigo Yoda, who gets antied by Johnny Scrims as well and taken out. As GDB now just once again staying very, very aggressive and taking out the front line, thanks to Haze Diva's help as well of this Crimson side, as Zodic eventually does give up fighting and allow King Raptor to take him out.
Yeah, it was they're building up out so quickly. It's hard to even believe that they've even lost a fight yet.
GDB here looking
Feels
for
like
a
every
flank
fight
shatter.
GDB gets 2 shatters, and like every other fight Johnny Scrims gets his nano again for GDB.
That's where the power from this comp comes from, the nano boosted Reinhardt just doing so much damage. Unfortunately, that Maywall coming through just too early from the side of Corrupted, as Ludigo Yoda finds King Raptor. Going on the flank is Toastman as well, finds Johnny Scrims, and now it looks like Crimson are going to be able to just press W here and roll over this Yoinkers side. As GDB also caught out of position, going to struggle to escape, especially without the main heals. The Maywall is there to help the rest of the team disengage properly, but GDB is staggered quite heavily.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to allow them to get past at least the next corner. It looks like, the last hope of finishing the map off here, or to finishing the half off here for Yoinkers is if they're able to hold this little open last 50 yards or 20-50 yards, whatever it is.
There's a big beat there, but it's not going to be enough as the Graviton Surge keeping the Yoinkers side within line of sight of that high noon behind that amplification matrix from Sheg, and it finds 3, which is going to be definitely enough to cap this point. because I
Absolutely.
don't think anybody's going to be able to touch. But it looks like Yoinkers are going to go for a close hold here, which, I mean,
Yeah, I'm really surprised that Yoinkers haven't even opted out for a Widowmaker or a Hanzo here, just because of how strong this map is for the snipers.
I expect they will do once they use their ultimates here in this fight, which it looks like they're doing very, very early, looking to just win this fight and maybe even go for a spawn camp after. Only Brigida so far falling on the Yoinkers side as the team kill comes through. It looks like exactly what I predicted is going to happen as Yoinkers wanting to try and spawn camp for a little while here.
60 seconds remaining.
You know, I don't judge that. That's a very smart play. You know, you're practically already at the spawn as well. What's gonna stay there gonna do?
But the shatter coming out from Ludigoda is absolutely massive. It finds 3. GDB tries to find one of his own, but he can't quite get it. As he just counterpins Ludigoda here. He has the nano boost to try and stay alive for a little bit longer, maybe build up close to another shatter. Can't quite find it though, as the blade from Zadok was enough to clean up the shatter as well from Ludigoda, as Crimson just take that fight pretty easily.
30 seconds
Yeah, but
remaining.
you can't be mad at the spawn camp. Like I said, you know, you're practically already at the spawn. The spawn's coming back through. You might as well fight it. Although Corrupted going onto the Sombra instead of the Widowmaker. They were gonna try and counteract the shield a wee bit more.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll find a flank onto Hollysav, who's would have been very, very effective so far. As that Matrix coming through helps Hollysav find 2 kills already in this fight. As we do see Ludigoda charging very, very aggressively. Unfortunately, not going to be able to get taken out, as once again the damage is too much on the frontline side of Crimson, and looks like Yoinker's going to get rolled over here once again, and they're going to struggle to try and hold on to this last point, especially now that Zodic owns that high ground that defenders make such good use of normally on this map. Looks like Hollysav found Corrupted there, pushing in a little bit too aggressive, as the shatter comes out from Ludigoda. Can't quite find anyone, but Hollysav finds 2. GDB now finds Ludigoda before the beat's able to land to keep him alive. As now the Graviton Surge actually saving Ollieball from GDB's pin. Stopping GDB from pinning the Ollieball into the wall, and now it's just clean up on the point here. Toastman taking care of point control as Zodic dashes around, cleaning up everybody who comes out of spawn. And it looks like all 3 points are going to be taken by Crimson
Complete.
in a pretty clutch final couple pushes. Third point looking a lot
I
cleaner
mean,
for Crimson.
To 3.
You know, after the spawn camp, they seemed to film their footing on the map, and it was very rare to see them lose a team fight. You know, you saw them lose a team fight at the start of every point, but after that first team fight, they didn't really lose afterwards. So, you know, like Holly Solve, everyone's here, everyone showed up, everyone's like at their best at the minute. Yoinkers, I want to see how they respond to that, because obviously, you know, they didn't have the Widowmaker duo, and that means Holly Solve was practically free throughout that through all the team fights that they were playing, because he could just step back and let the team roll, and then just pick off anyone who was behind the shield.
Ready for battle.
I mean, yeah, but also at the very start of that fight, the Amplification Matrix in front of the Widowmaker just means that Widowmaker can one-tap every squishy by body shots, which is
Yeah.
exactly how Hollysav was able to kill their likes of King Raptor. And
Attackers
Haze Diva obviously fell below the 200 HP mark, or 300 HP mark even, I believe, for that body shot, and was able to find a kill onto Haze as well. So those 2 kills just enabled the Crimson side to just roll over Yoinkers. But right here on this defensive side, Crimson deciding to copy this Yoinkers strat and go for a spawn camp as well.
Mhm.
Well, Yoinkers are running that counter brawl, and they're running that hands as well, I presume, to shoot a sonar at the inside of that building where they were hiding beforehand, or where Crimson are now hiding.
incoming.
That's exactly what happens. They do see that brawl coming out, and they're deciding to play a little bit more, I don't know, more differently, I suppose, pushing instead on the left-hand side, and deciding to aggress onto this Crimson side who are stuck inside this room, but looks like the trades so far have been even. Hollysav managed to find a 3rd and a 4th even for his team, and now there's a 5th as Toastman pushes forward, tries to find Corrupted as well, finish off that team kill. Yoinkers there pushed in, but couldn't quite find the value they needed, as Toastman and Hollysav just were able to pop off there.
Smart play, and it was definitely a really good predict. I mean, I think GDB spotted that no one was setting up on high ground, and it was more than likely going to be a attempt to a spawn camp. You know, swapping out to the Reaper was a very good decision, especially when you know you're waiting with that Brawl comp as well. But this Junkrat seems to be doing a lot of work for the side of Crimson.
Yeah, Zalek already found the first pick onto King Raptor there, as now the charge comes through from GDB to pin Ludigoda. very far into that building on the left-hand side, but that pushes Yoinkers further away from the payload into a more awkward position, and a very easy place for Holysov to get this high noon off. Especially with that nano boost. Unfortunately, can't quite find a kill with it, but still now able to push into GDB with that nano boost. It does find the kill thanks to Toastman's help as well. And it looks like Yoinkers once again have to just play a little bit more slow and back off into spawn. And while that first push wasn't successful for Yoinkers, it didn't make the space for them. But now that space is kind of gone, and as corners once again belong to this Crimson side.
Crimson, yeah, you saw on the defensive side, Yoinkers was able to take the spawn and not give any control over to Crimson, but you know, Crimson's taking a wee bit of a different approach. Like, okay, yeah, you can come out your spawn, but we're still gonna kill you.
Yeah, GDB here with the shatter early on, unfortunately not able to quite land it, but the shatter from the other side does land. Ludigoda falling before able to follow up on the shatter, but looks like Holysov and Zadok are able to do just that, finding 2 kills for their side. Corrupted does find Zadok, however, so it's even right now. Both sides missing their main tank, of course, which means the damage is going to come through very, very easily from both sides. And we see Yoinkers using that payload for as much cover as possible, but Johnny Scrims falling very, very low, forced to fade away, thanks to that anti-nade out of Sheg, as now Corrupted looking to use the EMP here. As he comes out, he does find 4, but the high noon is there to prevent the pushing. It does find 2, including cancelling Brigida's beat for the second time this match. As now both Ryans just pin into each other, but it looks like Crimson are going to come out on top once again for this fight, as Hayes Diva, as the assassin baby Diva, does take out Zadok before getting punished and headshot by Holysov, who I believe found 5 kills for himself that fight, if not 6.
Yeah, I mean, Holysov's been doing absolutely amazing right now. And sorry, Zodic as well. Like when GDB was trying to block the shatter, Zodic hit use a mine underneath him to blow him up and completely negate it for his team.
We'll
Or
see
for,
if they can.
the shield for GDB to defend
Another
his team.
huge anti-nade out of Shag, and the follow-up by himself does find Brigida, and now there's Tyre from Zadok as well, finding 2 kills, and now both Ryans just counterpinning each other on the point, and a GDB coming out on top because the follow-up is just there since half of Yoinkers were already missing. And it looks like, what was the spawn
yeah.
camp? This is a dominating performance from Crimson.
Yeah, Crimson here looks like they want to make a statement with Yoinkers. You know, Yoinkers have been favorites for a lot of the games that they've played, and they're coming in here and they're just like, we don't care if you're the favorites, we're still gonna win.
Early Coalescence, as well as the Death Blast coming out from Yoinkers, does find Toastman, but the follow-up is there from Ludigo with the nano boost, finds some kills on point. There's the second, as Zadok as well, finding 2 kills on point. Hayes Diva did find the pick onto Holysov, but unfortunately it's going to be too little, too late, as it looks like nobody can actually touch point for Yoinkers, and Crimson just take this map.
Yeah, Crimson have got really good teamwork so far from what we've seen.
Oops, I just realized I entered the wrong score on the wrong side.
Player of the game actually coming out on the side of Zodic with this Genji, which is actually quite a surprising pick for me. I wasn't expecting Genji to come out on this map at all.
I mean, it was a surprising pick, but as we saw, very effective. They just played it slow with that spawn camp, built up that nano blade, and just rolled with it. Of course, he found 4 kills.
I believe he played Genji through the entire map as well, and that blade came in incredibly handy as well. And throughout the entire map.
Definitely, we do see so far a big carry from these DPS on the Crimson side.
Absolutely. Not to get from the point of the DPS on Corrupted and King Raptor, they've been doing incredibly well as well. It's just feels like they find the picks at maybe the wrong time in a lot of the team fights that have been played.
I mean, there's something not going right on the Yoinkers side here. They're not quite able to find the coordination they need to, or maybe it's just the opportunities aren't being given to them to even find that coordination, thanks to players like Holysov and Zadok finding early picks, or even Sheg once again with these massive early anti-nades, just enabling his team to just push in really, really aggressively onto the Yoinker side with no healing.
Yeah, or maybe it's just a 500 strat. Throw the first 2 games, pull off the reverse sweep.
I mean, maybe. As we are heading over onto Kingsrow, which is a favorite of both of these teams, as far as I'm aware. Of course, both these teams being massively into Brawl, which we've seen so far this game and in previous games. And definitely 2 very strong Brawl teams as well. Yeah, both sides having very, very strong Reinhardt players as well as Zarya players. But it does look like on this attacking side, Toastman deciding to run the D.Va instead of the Zarya for this brawl. Onto
Maybe
Kings.
that's just to go up on the high ground and check what what
Attackers incoming.
Yoinkers are playing.
30 seconds.
Because you can see he is up on the high ground there.
Yes, he is, but I mean, they also have a Widowmaker to do just that as well as a Lucio. So, I mean, maybe. We don't really know. But of
I don't
course,
know.
Yoinkers once again playing very, very slow, kind of hiding out of sight until last minute with that Mace Trap, going to try and wall off,
4,
hopefully that
3,
Reinhardt and Ludigo Yoda
1.
at the choke here and just
Attackers incoming.
be able to roll over
Defend
this Crimson side from there. Although we do see Zodic taking that high ground and forcing GDB to fall back very, very early on, especially thanks to that Widowmaker as well from Halisov, taking the theater for himself as well. Now it's just a very, very slow, pokey pre-fight to this brawl as the Maywall does come out, separates Ludigo Yoda, but Oliball and Zodic able to get over to support. Unfortunately, Ludigo Yoda does still fall as Zodic is behind enemy lines here, looking for a pick. Don't think he's going to be able to find it though, as GDB is just rolling through the Crimson side, as well as Corrupted finding the final pick onto Zodic eventually. It looks like that fight went pretty much as good as it could have for Yoinkers.
Yeah, it definitely looks scary with the flank that Holisov took. You know, he had maybe not as much opportunities as he would have liked, but he still had a lot of opportunities to get that pick onto a squishy character. Just unfortunately wasn't able to land them, or it was cancelled out by the last minute range shield.
Early pick by King Raptor does find Zodic, and now the Amplification Matrix does come out from the Yoinkers side, who just look to find some early kills here. They do find Ludigo Yoda as well as Toastman here, who doesn't get to live this time, as he did come into the fight with very, very high charge, as he didn't die in the previous fight, but this time his charge is reset, and they're going to be pushing from neutral once again. Except they have less ultimates.
Yeah, GDP app, like he's gonna be able to get practically a free shatter here, and you know, also the side of Yoinkers as well, they have a huge ult advantage right now.
GDB right now taking a lot of poke damage, but intentionally so, charging up Johnny Scrims' amplification matrix extremely fast. He used it just last fight, and he's already on 75% once again, as well as the rest of the team having their ultimates, apart from Hayes Diva, who's also on 70%. As now Zodic staying away from his team as they rotate across the high ground, and it looks like he has been spotted by Brigitte on that Lucio, who is obviously letting her team know by shooting exactly where Zodic is. The Riptide now coming out. It's up to King Raptor now to try and kill it. Looks like he might not be able to, as the shatter comes out from GDB. It's absolutely huge, but the tire is just as big, finding 3 kills. GDB unfortunately only able to find 1 from his shatter, as now Zodic and Halisov are just cleaning up, and Halisov finds 2, but Zodic there with a huge tire and a bit of follow-up finds 4 kills for himself in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really surprised that tire didn't get shot down, especially how long it was in front of the team up on the statue. You know, a little bit of luck there maybe. Going on getting a nice 3k to winning this team fight, but Crimson, you know, they were tired of fed up of going straight on, so they decided to go up on the high ground and be like, you know what, we're going to start defending now and you have to attack us on the point.
I think also there might be a little bit of miscommunication. So GDP pushed in very, very aggressive, as the rest of his team were scared of the Rip Tire, as now the Graviton Surge does come out from Toastman, but the Mailed from Corrupted is there to stop any real follow from happening, as now GDB does find the pin onto Ludigo Yoda and the kills. Corrupted finds 2 kills for himself in this fight. Zodic though does manage to find King Raptor with that Widowmaker pick, but it's not going to be enough, although it probably will mean Yoinkers can't play as aggressively as they would like to here for this next fight.
Yeah, I mean, well, you still see they have Grav up, they have High Noon, and they have the beatdown. So, like, it's hard to push in, but to be fair, Ludio, like on the side of Crimson, Ludio, I can't pronounce his name, has Shatter, and you have Amplification Matrix and Beat as well. So
Well,
we'll
here
see
comes
how
the
the
Amp
aggression
Matrix
turns out.
coming out from this attacking side, as both teams drop the beat here, keeping their sides up, as King Raptor does find Zodic with the High Noon before getting taken out by that Fire Strike from Ludigo Yoda. Unfortunately, High Noon from Honeysoft doesn't quite find any kills, but does zone out and eventually cause the death of ASMR Hayes Diva, who Oliball did find the final blow on, as now Zodic does switch over onto the Genji off the Widowmaker as well.
Yeah, I mean, it just it felt like everyone just shouted press Q there, to be fair. You know, you had both, was it both Shatters come out, and then you also had both High Noons come out.
I mean, with that said, both Shatters coming out, but both Shatters back available once again already as
Yeah.
Ludwig does go for fake out, but GDB doesn't fall for it and is able to block that Shatter as now lands his own Shatter, and it's absolutely huge on point. As Ludwig does fall first, but shortly after, Zodic falls as well. GDB, though, eventually does fall to Toastman, who went on a bit of a flank with that that McCree of the Crimson Tide. But unfortunately, they weren't able to find quite enough value as this front line of Yoinkers are able to find the cleanup as Johnny Scrims does take out Sheg as well in that Baptiste duel, just beside the point.
Yeah, I think that all came down to where the Reinhardts died, like, or when the Reinhardts died, because they both died at fairly similar times, but because it
Corrupted
was
here.
where the fight was, they Yoinkers just had all natural cover from all the high ground that Crimson tried to utilize in the last fight.
With that said, though, this Crimson side, of course, that pick from Hollystaff onto Johnny Scrims there was absolutely massive for this Crimson side to win this team fight. Corrupted did try to get a pick of his own, using the Blizzard to try and just freeze Ludigoida, but unfortunately couldn't quite find the kill as Toastman was there with the bubble to keep Ludigoida alive as the Graviton Surge came through from Toastman as well, which, because there was no Immortality Field, was able to just clean up that fight. As already Hollystaff once again finds another very, very early pick for himself, finding King Raptor this time, and looks like Yoinkers still want to push in, they want to try and hold that corner quite aggressively if they can, as they want to keep that natural cover as much as possible. As Maywell does come out to block the High Noon, but GDB decides to ignore it and pushes in anyway, and now he's going to be struggling with his shield management here as the grab does come out. It is quite big for the side of Yoinkers here, but it's only GDB to try and follow it up as Zodic does go into the opposing backline with the blade. Both beats being dropped here once again, and I believe so far the trades are even as King Raptor now goes for Hainan on Payload, does find Ollie Ball, and once again the fight is even, but the shatter from Ludigo Yoda finds 3. There's the kill as well onto both ASMR Hayes Diva and Chinese Scrims actually, thanks to that pin, as now it's just GDB being able to touch point. Unfortunately, Brigida not being able to make it with that Lucio on time as Crimson do take third point with a minute and a half left on the board almost.
Yeah, and that's really good considering how, you know, they were losing quite badly on first point, and I wasn't sure if they were actually going to be able to finish the map, especially when Yoinkers were able to kind of bring it back and take Archway or take the Archway choke on second point, but they managed to persevere and get through with teamwork again. You know, the DPS getting nice flank picks, getting or nice frontline picks as well, and the tanks doing really well to keep up with the Yoinkers tanks ultimates as well. Again, the support's also doing really well on both sides, keeping their teams up for as long as possible. You know, getting ult extremely fast.
But I
You
mean,
know, it just seems to be like whoever gets the first pick right now, it should be team wipe at that point.
and so far, the person getting the most first picks is Hollysav by quite a large margin, both on this map and on previous ones, where somehow he's able to pick out key targets out of nowhere, apparently, finding Johnny Scrims multiple times, and in that final fight, finding King Raptor very early on as well. So once again, definitely a big carry for his team.
Yeah, I mean, I think every time I've seen Crimson, Holysov has performed absolutely fantastic. Just like you said, getting the first picks all the time, and able to kind of just create the space for his team that maybe the enemy team doesn't expect, because no one really expects the DPS to actually create space, but they can create a lot of space with just maybe 1 or 2 picks.
Sheg already on 13% after a massive anti-night, I believe hit all 6 members of Yoinkers. And now GDB did get antied, but the anti was wiped very, very quickly by Hayes Diva with the bubble, who got a lot of charge, but the flashbang is there to prevent the kill coming through, as GDB did pin Oliball. But as I said, the flashbang from Hollysav wasn't enough to save him, as now GDB does fall after pushing a little bit too aggressive away from his team. And now it looks like Crimson here just trying to push as aggressively as possible, trying to find some extra stagger picks onto this Yoinkers side, who are going to be struggling to live. All their resources pretty much having to be used just to be able to back out on time. But GDB is back, and it looks like they're going to be able to push fairly quickly here once they just wait for a few cooldowns to recharge. And they just push in straight onto point once again. GDB this time looking to find Ludigo Yoda, but Sheg once again finds an early pick onto King Raptor this time, as Zodic does find Corrupted as well, but not before Corrupted can find Ludigo Yoda with a stray mine, as Haze Diva does find Toastman as well in the front line. So it's just the tanks alive right now on the side of Yoinkers, but it looks like nobody's actually alive anymore on Yoinkers, as Sheg and Oliball are able just to clean up this fight on point. Zodic, the only DPS remaining for Crimson, as Brigida is just struggling to stay alive as well.
Yeah, I mean, Holisov getting quite a bad stagger at the end there as well. I'm not sure if that was on purpose or if that was just unfortunate timing when he pushed in, but either way, he still got quite badly staggered.
Nano boost though, and as well as the beat coming through onto Ludigo Yoda, who just pushes in very, very aggressively, able to dodge GTB's shatter as well, but Corrupted finding Oliball with that Riptire, as now Holisov as well with the High Noon does find King Raptor. And now Corrupted looking for a second kill for himself, does find Zodic, but once again it's going to be too little too late, as Johnny Scrims, Corrupted and Haze Diva are going to just back out from this fight, try to keep that Zarya charge up, and wait for next fight.
Yeah, I mean, it could absolutely be worse. You could have lost Haze Diva and lost all charge, but kind of going in here with similar Zarya charges, you know, kind of going into a complete fair team fight.
Early grab coming out, and GDB not swinging until both bubbles being used by the opposing side, as now Ludigo Yoda does pin Haze Diva, but once again the beat is there from Brigida to keep the side alive, as now it's just Chegg alive as well as that Lucio Oliball, who does fall very, very quickly beside the point, as Chegg finds 2 kills before finally falling to Johnny Scrims, and Chegg being once again similar to Holisov, an absolute massive carry for his team.
Yeah, he's been really good on the anti heals, and he's shown there that yeah, he's a support, but he could also be a DPS if he wants to.
Yeah, finds 2 kills for himself at the end of that fight, but those 2 picks getting back to the point really quickly, apart from the fact that Haze Diva losing all his energy as that Zarya, thanks to an Ana killing him. As looks like as well Crimson looking to hold as aggressively as possible here, which could be quite dangerous as the supports are not quite back in the fight yet. We do see Oliball taxiing Sheg back to the point, as that Lucio here, as now the big slam coming out of Yoda finds 4, and the Nano boost there to follow up as well means all 4 do die, and it looks like these supports are going to be getting taken out as well before they can get back into the spawn. The Yoda finding those final 2 kills, and that was a very, very quick fight for Crimson.
Johnny Scrims, he put up Immortality to try and get out with someone at least, and ends up getting burned down by the dynamite from Zodic anyway. You know, and like you said, a huge header by the Reinhardt as well.
High ground rotation now coming through from the Yoinkers side, who decides to just drop down main anyway, as GDB does find an early fire strike kill onto Oliball with the help of the Obfuscation Matrix. And now the Bob comes in from the backlines from Zodic, who finds 2 kills for himself already, as well as forcing out Immortality Field and breaking it. Haze Diva does find Toastman, but Holisov with the Tracer finds a pick for himself as well, as Johnny Scrims does take out Zodic. So it's a 3v2 right now. No support for Ludigo Yoda on this Reinhardt, who's just forced to back out already very, very low health, as Johnny Scrims decides to push forward. He's not a support anymore, he's a DPS, taking a leaf out of Sheng's book there, and finding Ludigo Yoda.
Yeah, I mean, he's had enough of Holisov as well. He was chasing down Holisov as well. He had enough of Holisov trying to kill him. He just goes in, yeah, like you said, take a page of the Sheg's book and start murdering his support.
Well, happened right now with King Raptor, who has the High Noon available, and Corrupted also having the Riptire available, should enable Yoinkers to win this fight fairly early on here, as the early Riptire does come out. Cannot find any picks. Looks like it's going to be going for the backline of this Crimson side, as the point isn't actually touched by Ludigo Yoda, and is actually turned over very, very easily for this Yoinkers team, despite that. Oh, actually, big slam coming out from GDB does find 5 members of Crimson, and the kills are coming through one by one. But as I was going to say, that Riptire was taken out by Holisov as well, but even with that, the Ludigo wasn't able to touch the point. So Yoinkers taking this point 2 for themselves, as well as getting halfway through point 3 already.
Yeah, I mean, just everyone dying, and the Ludigo Yoda just kind of coming back on his own to no team. You just can't do that. You go back to spawn, wait for everyone to respawn.
Haze Diva there playing very aggressively, but so does Toastman, both getting taken out. Now there's just no Zaryas on either side, as Zodic does find a pick from that high ground onto the second DPS on the side of Yoinkers, as Johnny Scrims does find a kill for himself before jumping off the map, trying to reset, but maybe a little bit prematurely, as did have a few team members still alive, but Yoinkers now resetting and regrouping for next fight.
Yeah, I mean, this is possibly the hardest point to push on this map. Is this last little stretch on the corner, just because it essentially turns into a 2 CP. Just the spots are so quickly back in, and there's so much room to just stagger with any character as well.
An early Graviton Surge coming out, as well as a beat from both sides. Unfortunately, no kills coming through just yet, but the Matrix is there from the Yoinkers side to provide a little bit of extra damage. However, Zodic and Ludigoda finding the first picks of this fight, finding both King Raptor and Brigida, followed by GDB, once again by Holisov. Zodic finds Corrupted, as well as Alibal pushing forward with the rest of the team, finding those final few stagger picks, Johnny Scrims and ASMR Haze Diva. Looks like King Raptor just barely able to escape with his life from that fight. But a lot of ultimates invested by Yoinkers to little to no value.
Yeah. Oh, Lydia maybe misclicking shift there, charging into the point as well. But yeah, absolutely. It just seems like a lot more target focus coming out on the side of Crimson.
Corrupted did find an early pick there before getting almost pooped off the map, but thanks to playing Hazel, actually does get pooped off the map. He was able to climb back up, but unfortunately wasn't able to stay up, as he did fall up down once again, as Oliball finds 2 kills for himself so far this fight. King Raptor trying to take him out, does eventually manage to do so, as Brigida finds Sheg as well in the front lines. Haze Diva now with this high energy, burning down anyone who touches the point, as well as GDB just pinning Toastman off, and now still a minute left on the clock for this Yoinkers side to a minute 36 on the Crimson side, but both teams capping all 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, it was good that they were able to finish with time. I was fairly certain this might have been a 3-0, but yeah, Yoinkers are still in this now, and they have a chance to bring this back. We've seen that both teams are incredibly good on defense, but I think Yoinkers did have that first point defense over Crimson just a wee bit more, shaving off a bit more time and playing a bit more together, which is you want to see that. I want to see what it was first point for the Yoinkers defense come back again. They seemed a lot more coordinated and a lot more target focused as well.
Definitely Yoinkers able to hold that first point a little bit better for that little bit longer. But of course, that third point, I believe Yoinkers actually had a little bit more time going into it. But Crimson just holding on for that extra team fight, meaning they have slightly more time on the clock, an extra half a minute, or just over, for
Yeah,
their
which
own attack as well.
that can mean everything because that's essentially just an extra team fight. So that could mean the way of winning or losing this map.
And as 36 seconds is enough time for especially an ultra like Nano Booster or Earth Shatter to be built up, or High Noon for that matter. As both teams here looking to play quite aggressively. The Junkrat on the defensive side versus the Mei on the attacking side, as Zodic does find that first pick onto King Raptor this time. As he looks for another, he does find Johnny Scrims and forces Corrupted out of the fight as well. And now he finds Brigida as well. Brigida does find a trade onto Halisov, but it's not going to be enough as GDB is taken out as well. Looks like, though, Haze Diva able to get out with some energy for this next push, which is going to have to be successful if Yoinkers want to stay in. Or in for this.
Yeah,
this,
I mean, Zodic's been an
match.
absolute nightmare in the backline here. He's able to poke it safely as well with just traps, mines, and then he's able to push through and just spam out damage as well when they've already pushed in.
Sheg pushing once again for a mad flank as this DPS Anna does find an early pick onto King Raptor this time as the Chatter is stopped from Ludigoda. Brigida finding the kill before that Chatter can land as she pushes onto point shortly after. Johnny Scrims once again going DPS, does find Sheg before getting taken out by Zodic, as now it's just GDB and Corrupted on the point, now just Corrupted, trying to stall point for as long as possible. King Raptor getting back with the soldier, unfortunately not even able to touch the point. Corrupted once again forced to touch for overtime, and unfortunately not even a tick taken for Yoinkers here, which is going to mean this map is going to be a draw or
Or a loss.
or a
Or
loss,
3-0.
which means
Yeah.
Crimson would 3-0.
3-3.
It might have gone into their heads a wee bit the first couple maps, especially maybe even the first point going all the way back to Nepal. It was so close, and just losing that might have gotten to their mental a wee bit. I know how annoyed I sometimes get when it's a map is so close as Nepal was. And then after that, it's kind of just been like a downhill slide for Yoinkers. Doing really well on the defense of Havana, but again, not having that attack, and again doing really well on Kingsrow, but not having that attack again. And it seems to be biting them here, not having like not a proper attack, but having a proper coordinated attack, I would say. they seem a very not. I don't want to say lost, but they're very uncoordinated on attack. Where on their defense, they're very very good.
Yeah, it's much easier to take position and play a little bit more like of a flanky play style, as we did see Sheng do quite a lot there on the defensive side, which Yoinkers seem to be able to play quite well and kind of abusing off angles and flanks to their advantage very, very effectively. As we do see so far, Zodic on the Widowmaker looking for an early pick, which could enable his team to win this team fight very, very easily. As Sheg is looking for a set anti-nade, which might just find the entire side of Yoinkers. Unfortunately, just barely back out and avoid that anti as Corrupted does take out Ollie and it looks like they're going to be pushing forward off this, but don't want to push too far because they don't want to risk getting picked off and losing a team fight, because if they do that, they lose the map.
Yeah, I mean, Yoinkers just have to play extremely passive, which I don't think they want to play at all. They're a very aggressive team, especially on defense. They like going up and being up in the face in the choke point, but having a minute and a half with Crimson only needing to take a point just to, or are you defending one tick just to even draw the map? It's probably gotten to their heads a wee bit as well. They're trying to play extremely passive.
Shig there almost finding a pick onto Johnny Scrims with that anti-nade, as well as that sleep dart onto Haze Diva, almost finding another pick, but unfortunately neither could be finished off, as now Halisav does pop that high noon with that nano boost, but unfortunately can't quite get any kills with it, as he does get picked off by that damage boosted right click from Haze Diva, as Haze Diva pushes forward and finds another kill for himself, and it looks like Ludigoda does find a pick onto King Raptor, but it looks like Yoinkers going to be holding on to this for this team fight at least, again, but it's going to be a 5v6 win to this next team fight, as it's going to take a little while for Yoinkers to get their 5th member back. We do see King Raptor switching over onto that Doomfist just to get back a little bit faster though.
Yeah, but if you look up in the top left of your screen, there's almost 4 ults on the side of...
That won't matter.
No,
Those ults won't matter.
Yeah.
Corrupted finding 2 with that tire. The shatter does come out from Ludigo. That is absolutely massive. And now both beat traps being used as well. 2 picks did come out from that shatter. Now the Graviton Surge coming out, keeping everyone off the point apart from King Raptor, who's able to touch, but it's not going to be enough. He won't be able to find these kills that he needs to find by himself. And it looks like Crimson being able to take this map for themselves as well, meaning they find that 3-0. And
Yeah.
I mean, I say this quite a lot, but I think this has been the most extreme version of it, that the score does not reflect how close this match was. Because, every point being like 99 to 99 effectively, both sides taking all 3 points of Kingsrow. The only map that wasn't really close was Havana.
Yeah.
And even then, Yoinkers almost did full hold. If they won one more team fight at the start, they probably would have won the entire map.
Yeah, I mean, like, they were there in the spawn for so long. Like, what was it, up to a minute and a half, and even taking overtime by just stalling up for that last little or last like 2 meters to escort the cart. They got it back and they stalled it over to overtime. That, to me, that was telling me that Yoinkers was winning that map.
Yeah, I genuinely expected that Yoinkers would win Havana, or at least, stop the cart before 3rd point. But unfortunately, they weren't quite able to do so, and their attack was unfortunately not quite able to capture that 1st point even, despite getting fairly close a few times. But yeah, as we said, Crimson just playing extremely well today, and especially, I must say, once again, Hollistaff and Sheg with those massive early picks and absolutely huge anti-nades for the Crimson side.
Yeah, I would also like to put Zotic in there as well. When he was on the Junkrat, it was just a complete nightmare for Yoinkers. Before the team fight even started, he would already have a pick. Like, it was between him and Holysov that was always just getting a pick. What seemed like before the fight even started, and even if the fight started, they'd go, all right, so the fight started, we'll take 2 picks then. We'll take 2 for 1 instead.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Crimson looking extremely strong, but once again, cannot be too upset if you're the Yoinkers side, as every single map there was, at least in some way, very, very close, especially Kingsrow.
Yeah.
I mean,
Only
both sides
half a
down
minute
to the
between
wire.
Yeah.
And both sides, of course, capping their, well, Yoinkers almost capping that 1st tick, and Crimson capping that 1st tick in overtime with a very, very scrappy fight. So listen, Definitely very well played from both sides. Crimson, though, does come out on top for this week at least. We do have one more game for this week, which will be, if I'm correct, Revamp versus Essence, and it's supposed to be on Saturday at can't remember what time. I think it's earlier though on Saturday than our usual time. Um, so yeah, I hope to see you guys then. But for now, I've been Maran, and I have Psycho with me. And yeah, GG's and thanks for coming.